Amani Haydar, thank you so much for chatting with us on Artworks.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to speak to you.
Can I get you to explain what the story is behind your beautiful book, The Mother Wound?
Yeah, so The Mother Wound is a memoir, and it's the story of my mum who was murdered in an act of domestic violence in 2015. I was 5 months pregnant at the time and about to become a mother myself. So it was a really difficult thing to navigate.
What has the arts taught you about healing?
Oh, it's taught me that there's so much capacity for healing to be found in creativity. I started painting to cope with having lost my mum and the grief around that. That just grew because it was such a healing thing to do, such a soothing activity for me. Okay. I wasn't conscious that I was treating and healing myself through creativity, or that in doing this work, I was reclaiming my agency and my childhood. I simply enjoyed not needing to take instructions or gain permission or approval from anyone. These moments were all mine. All the complicated, banned, wordless emotions could come out to play as pictures without fear of repercussion. Thoughts slowed to a more manageable pace. Imagination, which seemed to have stopped at the time of the murder, came back during these creative moments. I could think forward again, plan my next mark, control the outcome, master the process.
How did your mum feel about your arts practice?
Oh, she had mixed feelings about it. My parents were quite traditional in the sense that they wanted me to have traditional success, a career. But at the same time, she was quite impressed when I was being creative. She always used to ask me, oh, are you going to draw me? Are you drawing me or painting me? And she's sort of like a muse for me now, because I do think a lot about her old photos, the way that she used to look and the way that she used to dress really influenced my style, I think. The terms of the Archibald Prize require the sitter to be alive. An image took form in my mind. It couldn't be mum, but it could be me telling my mum's story and her telling her mum's story.
I mean, there's so much that's in that painting in terms of intergenerational stories.
I got this idea that I should paint a self-portrait in which I'm holding a picture of my mum, and in that picture, she's holding a picture of her mum who lost her life in 2006. She was killed in an Israeli drone strike in the south of Lebanon. And that was really my way of reflecting on all the things that had happened, my relationship with these two women, the impact that they had on me, and themes of trauma, hope, resilience, those kinds of things that I was really thinking about at the time. I read somewhere that if trauma can be inherited, then so can strength, resilience, and joy. From both mum and Teta, I learned that resilience is not a thing that you are born with, but something you do. I think perhaps both are true.
I reckon being the new kid on the block in any community is always difficult. What was the process like of tapping into the arts world?
It happened in a funny way because I wasn't expecting for my self-portrait to be hung when I entered the Archibald Prize. I felt like a newcomer, I felt like an outsider. But when it was hung in the finalist exhibition, that was really an interesting way to kickstart a creative career because I did feel validated by that experience. I made the decision to study law in high school. I'd loved and excelled at visual art, but never considered it a career option. I developed a habit of keeping my art projects secret, hiding dirty paint palettes on the balcony and airing out my bedroom to rid it of the smell of turpentine.
Working as a commercial lawyer, how does one make the leap to being a writer and painter?
By the time that my dad had been tried and convicted, I was beginning to question my role as a lawyer within a system that had exacerbated some of the harm that we were experiencing. And I was also thinking a lot about the parts of my mum's story that had been silenced because of the rules of evidence, sitting in the box and being cross-examined and experiencing that disempowerment. That really got me thinking about what I wanted to do next.
What strengthens you to be able to get out in the world and continue exploring your mother's story and explaining it again and again?
That profound sense of injustice that we feel when something like this has happened, not just to a loved one, but we should feel that way even when things like this happen to a stranger. That profound sense of injustice is something we really need to listen to.
Where do you think we're at as a society in terms of holding these difficult conversations around gender-based violence?
I think a lot has improved over the past few years because of the activism that's come from feminists and people who are working in the DV space. But I think we can really improve in terms of listening to women of colour so that we're responding to people's intersecting needs.
Do you find sometimes that when you are sharing your story in public spaces that it can be reductive and people do want to put it down to, say, faith or culture?
When I first started doing this work, I was really conscious of the fact that people would see it as a Muslim problem rather than a problem of patriarchy. I think people are, growing in their awareness around how important it is to stop domestic violence, how important it is to respond in a way that's not sort of a one-size-fits-all response. And I think having been able to have conversations through my art and through my book has helped people engage with my story a bit more effectively.
Amani, I've loved meeting you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Namila. It's been a pleasure.